Welcome back, Wildcat Nation, to the first episode of Season 7. I'm Abby Harvey with Isaac Wolf on my last season of Wildcat Week. Today we're spotlighting the women's swim team. We'll be joined by senior Sidney Campbell and junior Katie McKay.
The Wildcats are in the middle of their season with just 2 meets left before conference and national championships. During Campbell's career, she's been named an NAIA All-American, All-Conference third team and second team, Academic All-Conference twice, as well as Daktronics Scholar Athlete twice. McKay was named All-Conference her freshman year and Academic All-Conference her sophomore year.
Before we get started, here's your Crossroads League Week in Review.
I'm Isaac Wolf with your Crossroads League Week in Review. Let's get you caught up with all that happened over break in basketball, starting with the men's side of things, where half of the Crossroads League teams are either ranked or receiving votes. Bethel is ranked 10th nationally and sits atop the Crossroads League standings with a 7-0 conference record. Although they dropped both of their games in Florida before break, the Pilots have won 4 straight games since, including 3 conference wins against Mount Vernon, Marion, and number 16 Grace. Saturday's matchup with the Lancers went down to the wire as Trent Edwards hit a pair of go-ahead free throws with 5 seconds left to win 75-74. Despite a combined 55 points from the Ians, Scott and Rosh for Grace, the balanced attack of Bethel prevailed with 4 different Pilots scoring in double figures, led by Luke McBride with 16. Number 16 Grace is 13-4 after winning 4 in a row, including a 70-66 win at Huntington before falling at home to Bethel. Their next game will be at St. Francis on Wednesday at 7:30. Number 17 Huntington won both of their games in Florida before break, beat Olivet Nazarene on December 30th, then lost back-to-back games in conference against Marion and Grace. In the loss to Grace, however, Landon Jordan scored his 1,000th career point for the Foresters, who redeemed themselves with an 81-64 win over Spring Arbor. Jordan led them off the bench in scoring with 18 points on an efficient 7-of-9 night from the field. Number 22 Indiana Wesleyan took care of business in Florida, defeating Florida Memorial and St. Thomas. The Wildcats then had the opportunity to play Madonna University at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, home of the Indiana Pacers. They routed the Crusaders 113-75 in that matchup, but weren't able to find their groove against St. Francis and Taylor, dropping both games on the road to start 1-5 in conference. I will bounce back with a win at Mount Vernon on Saturday, giving them a 12-5 record, but all 5 losses have come in conference play. Receiving votes, Spring Arbor had a lighter break schedule, playing just 4 games and going 3-1, their only loss coming to Huntington on Saturday. In their previous 3 wins, the Cougars held their opponents to an average of just 50.3 points per game. In women's basketball, number 2 IWU is still undefeated at 17-0. The Wildcats were victorious on their trip to Hawaii and followed it up with 3 solid conference wins, defeating previously unbeaten and number 11 ranked St. Francis, Taylor, and Mount Vernon. In the showdown with St. Francis, Lily Frazier struggled, scoring just 9 points on 2 of 10 shooting. Jade Nutley led the way as the only Wildcat in double figures with 18. The Cougars had no answer for her in the post. They will look to continue the streak against Goshen on Wednesday. Number 11 St. Francis is 16-1, winning every game outside of the IWU game over break, and most recently defeating number 15 Marion 63-47 on Saturday. In the win over the Knights, the starters did the heavy lifting, scoring 92% of the team's points. And number 15 Marion sits at 13-4 after a 3-3 break. The Knights lost to number 10 Georgetown of Kentucky, Florida Memorial, and St. Francis. Squeezed in between the losses were 3 straight wins against Concordia of Michigan, Huntington, and Bethel, in which the Knights outscored their opponents 232-141. Here's an updated look at the standings on the men's side. Bethel is first at 7-0 in conference. There's a 3-way tie for second between Grace, Spring Arbor, and St. Francis, all at 5-2. Taylor is 5th at 4-3. Huntington is 6th at 3-4. Indiana Wesleyan, Mount Vernon, and Marion are tied for 7th at 2-5, and Goshen is 10th at 0-7. In women's basketball, Indiana Wesleyan is atop at 7-0. Tied for second place at 6-1 in conference is St. Francis and Marion. Spring Arbor sits alone in 4th place at 4-3. Mount Vernon and Goshen are tied for 5th at 3-4. Grace and Huntington, as well as Bethel, are 2-5, so they're tied at 7th. And then Taylor is 10th at 0-7. As for this week's Crossroads League Awards, the Women's Basketball Offensive Player of the Week is Alana Nelson of Spring Arbor. Nelson highlighted a 1-1 week for Spring Arbor with 25.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 1 block per game. Nelson posted double-doubles with over 20 points and 10 rebounds in each outing and shot 50% from the field. The Women's Basketball Defensive Player of the Week is Cyan Mohammed of Goshen. Mohammed swatted 9 shots for Goshen in its wins over Spring Arbor and Taylor. Senior center averaged 4.5 blocks, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game to go with her 15 points per win. The men's basketball offensive and defensive player of the week is Anton Webb of Taylor. Webb was a force on both ends of the court in Taylor's victories over number 22 IWU and Goshen. He averaged 29.5 points on 64% shooting, 14 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 2 blocks per game. The women's indoor track and field track athlete of the week is Ellen Coe of Mount Vernon. Coe scored a pair of wins for Mount Vernon at the Cap Fam Alumni Classic. The senior finished first in the 800 meters with a time of 2 minutes and 26 seconds before helping NVNU to the 4x400 meter relay title with a time of 4 minutes, 42.74 seconds. The women's indoor track and field athlete of the week is Lissy Snoffer of Mount Vernon Nazarene. The volleyball standout provisionally qualified for NAIA Nationals with a leap of 1.65 meters in the high jump at the Cap Fam Alumni Classic. The men's indoor track and field track athlete of the week is Bryce Wiles of Mount Vernon. Wiles topped a field of 8 to win the 60-meter dash at the Cap Fam Alumni Classic. Wiles won the race for MVNU with a time of 6.9 seconds. The men's indoor track and field athlete of the week is Tyler Shipley of Mount Vernon. Shipley opened his indoor season with a provisional standard and first place finish in the pole vault for Mount Vernon Nazarene at the Alumni Classic. Shipley posted a mark of 1.75 meters. That's all for this week with your Crossroads League Week in Review. I'm Isaac Wolf.
So, to start things off, since I'm so excited for this episode, and I was a sprinter with you guys, what is the biggest thing you want people to know about sprints and swimming that people don't know? Like a fun thing.
Oh, man.
People hate you.
Literally.
Because we just do 25s with a bunch of rest. So we do 125 and then on a minute. So we get 40 seconds of rest maybe. And then you look over a couple lanes over in distance. They're doing 4 500s on a really fast interval, just dying, yardage on yardage. And we're just chilling,
vibing,
looking at them.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Yeah, it definitely gets a lot of hate. But I would say it's a different type of swimming. So it takes different muscles and different types of reactions and stuff like that. But
So how did you guys get into swim?
I started swimming. My mom put me in a little summer league. It was just an 8-week program that I would do every summer, but I started that when I was 4. And then I started competing for that team during their club team full-time during the summer when I was 7 or 8. So I've been competitively swimming since then.
Yeah, mine's similar. I started in a summer league when I was 8 maybe, and that was just a thing me and my brother did together, and I found out, people were really good at swim, and I wanted to be good like them, and so I joined a club team when I was 10, and up from there.
Yeah, it's actually kind of ironic because when I first started swimming and my coach asked me if I wanted to start competing, it was because of my backstroke. Because my backstroke was good when I was little, which is so funny because I am probably the worst backstroker on the team right now. It's my worst stroke by far. I'm terrible. It's embarrassing. But yeah, that's actually what started me competitively swimming.
You're bad. Stop. Don't say that about yourself. You're good.
It's okay. I can laugh about it.
Did you guys have a time in your career that you knew it was a possibility to swim in college?
Yeah, I think in high school, or maybe even when I was in 7th grade, I knew I wanted to swim in college, because my cousin swam in college, and I would go to his meets, and I saw his experiences and heard stories, and that's what I wanted, and I wanted to be a college athlete, and so that was a dream from a young age, and my parents have always set a standard in me to, figure out what you want to do, who do you want to be, not any pressure or anything, but, good pressure, I would say, because it turned out well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and I loved all the sports I did, but I found the most success with swimming. But I didn't really think about swimming in college until my sophomore year of high school when I had some pretty big time drops at sectionals, and I started looking at times of other college athletes and some programs that I was maybe interested in because I was already interested in their colleges, and I was like, oh shoot, I could keep up with that now. That's something that I could actually do. So that's kind of when I started thinking about it.
For me, I feel like it was impossible to do 3 sports, or at least I needed to do only swim. That was just what the swimmers did in Fort Wayne. You only did swim, and that was your whole life. And so when I was in 8th grade, I had to choose between basketball or swim, and that was
baller.
I know.
What other sports did you do?
I did soccer and I ran track.
Little do you know, Katie and I played on the same upward team in what was that, kindergarten, first grade maybe?
Picks to
Okay.
prove.
Church league.
No way.
Church league. Woo. Got them stars.
Yeah.
Okay.
So What was the recruiting process like for both of you guys, and how did you end up here?
I literally I was already interested in Indiana Wesleyan because my aunt went here. She graduated in 2007, but she played tennis and was a nursing major. And so I had kind of already been looking at the school. And so I had just started a nursing or a swim program at that point. It was only 2 years old, 3 years old maybe at that point, because I think I was team 4. I think our class was team 4. Or team 5?
I think.
Team 5. So it would have been their 5th year having a program. So it was pretty new, but the program was very successful. Like, I was so surprised at how high they were ranked nationally. And so I literally just submitted the little questionnaire online, and I was like, I think I could go here. I think I could swim here. And then the current coach at the time reached out and called me, and we had a phone conversation, and then she invited me onto campus for a practice. And so I came and swam with the team. And I will say that was, at that point in my life, one of the hardest swim practices I had ever done. I was last in my lane, dragging, like, it was horrible. And I got done with that practice, and I was like, oh no. I was like, they're not going to want me anymore. I was like, oh no, my performance was so bad. In my defense, at the time, I was just coming off of soccer season when I visited. And so I had only been in the pool for a week. And I showed up, and they were like, 12 100s, repeat, like, doing this crazy set. And I was like, I'm in no condition to be doing this, but here I am. And then had a conversation with the coach after practice, and apparently she was super encouraged by what she saw. And then, and then I ended up signing, committing, I think, like a month later.
So my high school coach mentioned IWU to me because he knew I was interested in nursing, and they had a fairly new swim program. And so I looked into it. I emailed the current coach just to inform her about me, and she reached back out, and we had a phone call, and she invited me on campus, and I spent the night with Ella, Abby's roommate, old roommate. Oh, rip. Okay. Not rip. No. But spent the night with Ella. Just really liked the culture of the girls, and just the team environment and the hard work that everyone put in, and I just really liked it. And then had another phone call with Emily and discussed scholarship options and just commitment. And then just verbally committed to her on the phone my senior year in August or September. So yeah, it was a pretty smooth process. And then she came to my commitment, and it was a fun time.
Sounds like both of you were kind of interested in nursing before you came. How do you balance that with a sport? Because I know some schools don't let you do that.
I know.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of, especially the bigger schools, like some Division I programs and stuff like that, but even further down into D2 and D3, they won't let you be a nursing major and an athlete at all.
Like, you have to be like a psych major, exercise science, and then switch to nursing. So essentially you might be in college for 6 years and only play 4, but then
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then you have to do accelerated nursing. It's a whole thing. But I'm so glad that IWU lets us do this, and our coaches throughout my 3 years here, they've been amazing and so accommodating through meets or just practices. If I have to miss a practice, I can make it up anytime throughout the week. If I swim by myself, they're completely okay with that because they respect that what we're doing, and we're here for a degree and for our life, and so they respect that, and I really appreciate that. That's another reason why I chose IWU too.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of balancing the two schedules, it was a huge learning curve for me freshman year. And technically, when you're a freshman in the nursing program, you're not actually in the nursing program yet. You're completing all the prereqs in order to become a part of the nursing program when you're a sophomore. But even those prereqs, when I was a freshman, and our practice schedule and traveling for meets, I was like, how do I study for exams I have to take when I get back and lectures that I'm missing when we're traveling for like a week at a time? Yeah. And so, yeah, that was a huge learning curve. And a lot of it came from advice and guidance from upperclassmen that were in some of those more like difficult majors and stuff like that. And they just kind of really helped me and guided me and said, this is what I've done while we're traveling. This is how I manage my schedule. there was, at the time when I was recruited, there was only one other person on the swim team that had competed for the team for 4 years and was a nursing major all 4 years. Only one person had ever done it. And so I got her contact information and reached out to her, and I was like, girl, how'd you do it? Because I'm going to need to know, how do I balance clinical? What do I do if I have to miss practice? And so I think guidance from people that were older than me made a huge difference.
I feel like swim has to be the hardest with that because it's such a long season, and we have like the swim team has like no home meets, so it's like
right.
traveling.
We're
all the time.
always
it's
gone.
All doing work on the bus, studying on the bus, and it's hard too when you're on the bus and you can get car sick too, so you have to like take breaks, and that's a whole another thing. So
yeah.
With you mentioned like the different coaching. This is the first year you guys are under the same coaching. How's the transition been for that?
Honestly, I feel like it's gone pretty well. We're actually things are still changing for our program. We actually just added a women's assistant coach like a week ago. So we are definitely of the mindset of you gotta be all in, and you gotta adapt to the change, and you gotta roll with the punches, because that's just kind of what our year has really looked like for us. I think one of the things that has made the biggest difference for our team is integrating some more leadership roles into the team to kind of bridge the gap between coaching and the athletes, our coaching staff and the athletes. And I think that has helped a lot in that transition in terms of just communication on our team and stuff like that. And so that has definitely helped us a lot this year, I think. In terms of merging the two teams together, that's also been a huge thing for us this year. And our team motto, I don't even know how it came to be. I feel like it started.
It was a boy thing.
Yeah, it was one of the guys. It kind of started off as like a joke, kind of, and they were like just kind of messing around at one of our team bonding events at the beginning of the year. We were trying to create a team cheer, and it was like going very poorly. And somebody just kind of mentioned it, and then we just kind of adopted it as like our little team motto. But all year we've been saying one team, same team, and it's kind of repetitive, I guess, but it's the idea that we were two separate programs, and now we have the opportunity to support and encourage each other as one team, as a part of the same program. And so we've been really trying to be all in with that concept and that idea. And honestly, I think it's been kind of fun.
Yeah. I don't know how we ever went without it the past 2 years. I don't know how we did that, because I don't know, it's like one big family, and it's nice.
Yeah.
It would be weird to have two separate teams, and like we do the same thing every single day, and we have the same coaches, and then we don't even know each other. Like, that's weird. So I'm glad we combined, and we're literally a big family, and we eat together, and we do team bonding stuff together, and it's a good time.
Yeah. And speaking from the girls' perspective, obviously, like the guys add a lot to, I mean, because I have experienced the team being only women for all 3 years until this point. And I think that having the guys around adds a lot to our team. A lot of times the women tend to be very focused and determined, and a lot of times we can be kind of hardcore. And the guys are always very quick to remind us a lot of times that, like, hey, we are also here to have fun. Like, we're here to enjoy being teammates and to enjoy each other's company during practice. And so they definitely add this kind of lighter mood. Not that they don't love to compete, because they do as well. But I think having them around has been really good for the women's team.
I think they also add some competitiveness too, because like if a guy's in the lane next to me, I'm going to try and beat him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, yes.
So they better swim fast, or else I'm going to beat him. And I think that's cool. And, you can hop in a lane with the guys, and they won't treat you any different, like you're slow or anything. They'll treat you the way it is, and you just swim fast, and it's just that extra push and motivation and just the grind.
So I don't think people realize how demanding swim is. What does a typical week of practice and lifts look like for you guys?
We are in the water 6 days a week. That's just our normal schedule. We do have optionals practices in the morning we do have optionals, so we can add an extra 2 swims a week, so potentially 8 swims a week. That's demanding on my schedule, so I typically don't do that. I just stick with 6 swims a week, and then 3 lifts, and that's either scheduled, or if that doesn't fit into your school schedule, then you have to make it fit around it, which is what I do for this semester.
Yeah.
And then Sundays are off.
Yeah, we break our team up twice a week into our stroke-specific or event-specific practices. So like Katie and I are both sprint freestylers, and so twice a week we will do a sprint workout. But then people usually have 3 to 4 individual events that they compete in, and not all of them are the same stroke. And so then we'll do our more stroke-focused practices. So IMers, breast, fly, and back will have their own workouts as well, twice a week. And then our morning practices, which we just changed our schedule again at the beginning of this semester, but at least once a week, usually everybody is in the water in our morning practice, which is at 5:15 a.m. So like that alarm is going off at 4:30 those mornings. Yeah, for 2-hour practice. Yeah, so those days are long. Those days are long for sure. Yeah, today was one of those days.
That's why our hair is wet.
Yeah.
We had practice this morning.
Yeah, but so that's just kind of like our base schedule, and then like Katie said, you can add and do additional practices as well. So some people are in the water even more than that.
And with those additional practices, when you show up to those will be in the morning on Monday or Wednesday, and during those practices, the coaches will work with you individually, one-on-one, stroke work, turn work, start work, tower work. We have these big towers with buckets of water that you fill based on the level of difficulty you want, and then you strap a belt to your waist, and then you just swim. And so that helps with resistance and just developing strength for your swims. And so you can work on that in the mornings as well. So basically our coach's motto is just putting in what you want out. So
with both of you guys being upperclassmen on the team, and obviously we've talked like it's been through a lot of change, how have you guys kind of stepped into some leadership positions, or how do you think you lead the team in some ways?
Yeah, I have the opportunity to be one of our team captains this year. And so I think stepping into that role, it's been really awesome just because I've known that our team has needed that type of leadership for a while. And so being able to be a part of that initial, like, we're finally going to try this style of like organizing our team and leading our team and stuff like that. And so being a part of that initial like project almost has been super cool. And it's been really awesome to get to communicate between our coaches and the other athletes on our team. And really what we want that role to be right now, but also for future classes and for future team captains and stuff, is to be that bridge between the coaching staff and the athletes, and to advocate for both sides, to communicate with both sides. And so I think that it's been a really cool opportunity. I've gotten to know a lot of teammates even better because of it, and I've gotten to know our coaching staff a lot better because of it. And so I think that helps me and our team understand, why are we doing, what are we doing, what are coaches' expectations of us, and how can I best communicate that to the team so that we know what we're doing and so that we know what's going on. And so for me, having that opportunity, especially with it being my last season, has been really awesome, and I've been really grateful to be able to help do that for our team.
Yeah, I think with being an upperclassman, there comes a certain standard that makes you feel like you have to set, and I feel like with that, it comes with just letting the underclassmen know that their worth isn't defined based on the number or the time they go, the number on the clock. And so I feel like with that, sometimes we can get caught up in seeing that, we have meets all the time. And so that's just constantly ingrained in our brain. But then we also have school. And so it kind of makes sometimes throughout this long season, it makes you doubt who you are, like what you've been through. And so to remind them, and like for them to keep reminding me that our worth isn't defined, and swim or practices or any meets. Like, it's defined in Jesus, and he gives us our worth, and that's a child of God. And so just, I feel like that's another reason why I chose Iowa, is because of the Christian school and the Christian community that we're in. And I feel like as an upperclassman, it's very important to continue to establish that in the sophomores and the freshmen, and just within the other juniors and seniors, just to make that a team culture, because like that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have the Colonel Classic this weekend at the same pool that conference is at. How does that kind of help you prepare for that?
It makes me excited.
Yes.
It's a brand new pool. It's been a long time coming, so
It has been.
I'm excited to see it and to just feel the water, see the blocks, and just kind of like visualize what conference is going to look at. I feel like we kind of have a sneak peek on the other teams. I don't know what other teams have competed there, but it makes me excited that we get to see that, swim at that. And I'll be swimming my events that I'll swim at conference, so I can kind of visualize when I'm swimming, when I'm warming up, and just kind of do a pre-run of conference.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's kind of funny about swimmers is that we can be super picky about like our pools and where we compete and all the different things that go into that. So like you might hear a swimmer tell you that like, oh, that pool is so slow. And to a person who's not a swimmer, they're like,
what does that even
it's
mean?
It's water. Like, water is water. What does that mean? And I would tell you that water is not just water, and that there is water that feels different. Some feel fast, some feel slow. All like walls are different. The blocks that we start off of make a huge impact on your race, and they're different at every facility that you compete at.
Air quality.
Yes. Yep. Like air.
Temperature.
Yes.
Pool was freezing.
Yeah,
out
Center's
there.
last pool was freezing. The water was so cold. It was just not a good environment. So I'm encouraged that Center built a new pool for themselves. So that'll bring a lot of what am I trying to say? Revenue. That'll bring that'll bring a lot of revenue for them. But then also, it provides the Mid-South Conference a good pool to swim at. And so that's so exciting.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm super thankful that we'll get to go down there and kind of feel the pool out before we swim there at conference. So it's super awesome.
So before conference, for non-swimmers, explain what taper means, because obviously you'll head into taper going into conference, and everyone always is like, what the heck is that? So kind of explain that.
Yeah.
Taper is a specific type of training.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Very beautiful. There's lots of rest, but rest within the practice. But when you're not resting, it's intense. And so we could maybe do 5 100s broken, which broken means it's split up however the coach wants. So we'll typically do broken by the 25. So 4 25s, 4 laps per 100. And you swim it, take seconds rest, swim it again, keep going with that. But then, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought.
You're good. I think like the main point of taper is that you taper down the yardage that you normally do. So like, let's say on average, we swim like 5,000 yards a practice. Every team does it differently. Every coach does it differently. There's a lot of different beliefs and theories on the best way to taper. It depends on what type of swimmer you are. Are you a distance swimmer? Are you a sprinter? That sort of thing. But in general, you will start off like, let's say the week. So we're going to taper the week before conference. So you'll start off doing your normal yardage of practice, and then slowly throughout the week we'll taper down. So maybe we'll start at 5, and then the next day we'll do around 4. And then the next day we'll do around 3, then maybe 2. And then usually some people taper all the way down to only doing like 1,000 yards before they compete. That's how we used to do it in high school anyways. So you're just lessening the yardage before you compete. So that way you are well rested, your muscles are ready to compete, you're not tired, and that way you can compete to the best of your ability.
Yeah. Also during taper, there's a lot of racing practice, lots of off the blocks, lots of all out fast to kind of mimic the idea of when we are in a race and when we are going fast at our best. For me, sometimes during taper, I feel slow. Mm-hmm. What do you feel?
It kind of depends. I mean, I've done taper a lot of different ways. Like every coach I have had has tapered me differently. And I've gotten different results every time. But yeah, I think sometimes while you're swimming that week, I mean, I've had years where I've been like, oh no. I'm like, because the point of taper is to make you feel good. At least that's what a lot of coaches will tell you. And so when you are not feeling good that week, sometimes it then becomes a mental game. And there have been times where I have surprised myself and I've felt really bad before we've competed. And then I've like blown myself away with the times that I've swam. And then there have been other times. Psychology. Yeah. Yeah. And then there have been times where I haven't felt good and I didn't swim good. So a lot of swimming is mental. Mm-hmm. It's a big mental game for sure. And taper definitely plays a role in that.
I'm assuming you guys tapered a little bit before mid-season, maybe?
We did a 3-day taper.
Yeah. So is the taper for conference going to be longer, you think? Or have you been told?
Hopefully it'll be a week or week and a half looking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We have the Classic this weekend and then Cumberland's next weekend, and then everything else after that is postseason. Yeah. So I think once we get through these next couple of meets, then we'll look to hear more details from Coach Steven and have some more conversations about like what is our postseason going to look like, and that definitely includes taper. So
but building up to taper, practices are really hard. Lots of yardage, even when we do have meets on the weekends. Practice doesn't get easier. We still have 5,000, 6,000 yard practices.
Gonna beat Cumberland's.
That's the goal. It always is.
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
Gotta win the conference.
Literally. Come on now.
Is there anything the team does spiritually away from the pool?
There's a ton.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
We do team chapels every Friday after practice. We set aside 30 minutes of the practice time to get together as one team. We've alternated girls' teams, like separate teams one week, and then combined teams the next week, which I like a lot, and it's good. And we get into groups and are led with different questions and go through verses in the Word and just talk amongst each other, pray for each other, and I think that's really important. We also pray before every meet. We pray after every practice. We finish our practice with breath work, and then we circle up. Coach tells us any announcements, and then we hold hands and pray for each other, and I think that's really special and unique about us.
Yeah, we have our prayer requests and praises board that we keep on deck with us, so people can write on that at any time. And then we just this year also started a prayer group chat, which has the whole team in it, which we had one already, but we started another one specifically just for prayer requests, just so people can submit those and have a way to communicate with the team just about like what's going on in our lives and friends and family that need prayer. A big thing that the women's team does and has done for years is we do prayer partners, and those are usually assigned by the team chaplain, which the men and women each have a team chaplain, and they also serve in a leadership position on the team. And your prayer partner is a person that you spend time talking to every week, a lot of times during chapel. But it's just kind of like your go-to on the team for life. Often it does not revolve around swim at all. We actually encourage for it not to, because we want to promote spiritual growth on our team. So prayer partners is a super cool way that the women do that.
Yeah.
So
it's always been special. I love having prayer partners and just like getting together with them, having coffee, lunch, dinner. It's good.
We do a lot of, we've done some worship nights this semester or past semester, which we always love doing. And a lot of times Raina, our team chaplain, will organize those. And so that's super awesome. I mean, the girls team just recently did this thing actually where we all got together and made bracelets with our.
Mine's on my water bottle.
I know mine. I'm literally shout out Chloe Hogue. I'm literally wearing her bracelet right now.
Shout out McKenna Beal. It's on my water bottle outside the room.
Yeah. But we got together and made these bracelets with our all of our initials on them, and then we traded bracelets, and we'll continue to do that throughout the semester. And so since I'm wearing Chloe's this week, it's a reminder to be in prayer for Chloe to just be thinking about her. I was washing dishes the other day and was listening to some worship music, and I sent her a song that made me think of her because I like saw my bracelet and I was like,
really
oh my gosh, Chloe. And so I sent that to her. And so I just love that our team, yeah. Yeah, I just love that our team does stuff like that and really does care about, yes, we love to compete and we love to win. But ultimately, I think our team knows that the priority is for us to become closer to God by the time that we've left Indiana Wesleyan. And I think that the swim and dive team does a really good job at that.
Yeah. Like bringing basically everything you've learned from your almost 4 years and then your 3 years, what do you think has been the biggest takeaway or life lesson you've learned from being a part of the program?
My biggest takeaway would be that it is so important to invest in people emotionally, like to invest in relationships with people that you're around. I especially struggle with, I tend to be kind of introverted. And so sometimes it's hard for me to want to do that because I am totally fine to just kind of be on my own. I don't often feel like I need to be around people to like feel happy and just kind of feel better. But one of the things that being a part of the swim program has showed me is that it enriches your life so much to invest in those relationships and to make friends. And so there are a lot of friendships and relationships that I will take from this program that will be lifelong friendships, people that I will continue to talk to after I graduate, after I'm no longer a part of the program. And so I think Indiana Wesleyan especially, but swim and dive has taught me the importance of that.
Yeah. I think swim has just taught me the importance of knowing my worth and that my identity is in Christ. It's not in my performance in the pool, my performance in school, or just anything else that could give me a sense of performance. It's only rooted in Christ. And because of the repetition of just community we constantly have with one another, of that reminder and the whole entire team pouring into you, encouraging you, it's hard to, yes, you'll still feel times of doubt, but overall I just feel very poured into by the team and just know that my identity is in Christ.
Now, if you had one memory to pick from your years here with the team specifically, which one is your favorite?
Oh my gosh.
It's always a hard question.
Give me a second.
Oh, I have one. Okay, after conference last year, so my sophomore year, we were allowed to stay an extra night at the hotel, which is like such a big thing because usually, so our conference meet is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Saturday night we go home. Like we don't stay in the hotel again. And it's a hard drive back and we're exhausted, tired,
in the past
wet
it's been
hair.
7 hours, like a 7 hour, 8 hour drive.
It's so hard. And so somehow it just worked out that we were allowed to stay the night and then wake up from a nice rested sleep, have breakfast. And so that was just amazing. And all of the girls were so thrilled and excited about that. And so a bunch of the girls, we got our suits on and went down to the hotel pool and we're just swimming, like doing belly flops and playing all the water games. And it was so much fun. It was just what we needed after a long season. It was just a sense of relief and community that we were able to have in one another. And it was so much fun. I love that. I just hit my nose.
Oh man. The first thing
Go.
No, I don't want to. I'm going to embarrass myself by sharing it as well.
It's okay.
Also,
Do
I
it.
don't really want to talk about growing up on the podcast, but
Was that a good memory? I feel
it was
nobody-
kind of, it was funny now that I think about it. I'll talk about, okay, so this was also on the way, it was on the way home from conference. I think it was my sophomore year, and our bus had so many problems on that trip. Like we were trying, our hotel was like 5 minutes away from the pool, I think. And it literally, our bus, like it wouldn't drive one morning. We like stopped in the middle of an intersection because the bus was stalling. And
this was at Nationals, right?
It was
I thought it was
conference.
like
It was definitely conference because we were in Tennessee. Wait, it's in Tennessee, right? Yeah, Kingsport.
Yeah.
Because I remember like the intersection. And like our bus just like stopped in the middle of this intersection, and we're trying to get to the pool so we can warm up, and it was chaotic the whole trip. Our bus was like literally falling apart. And so we were kind of worried about getting home, and then on the drive home, we had to stop at a Walmart because the bus, like, they were having problems with the engine, and they were still worried. They were worried about us being able to get back to campus and the bus like not gonna explode or something like that. And it was freezing at the time. It was super, super cold out, and the bus, like the heater stopped working. And you guys probably think I'm making this up, but when I tell you, like, I could legit see my breath, like it was so cold on the bus, and we were all freezing, and everybody's like huddled in these little balls in their seats with their blankets. And so we stopped at a Walmart, and Coach Emily Vermilia, who was the coach at the time, went into Walmart and bought the whole team gloves, hats, hand warmers, and like passed them out on the bus. So sweet of her. Okay. But it was funny at the time. And so we're all on the bus now, and they started us back home, and everybody's got hats on and gloves, and like people have the hand warmers like in their gloves or like in their like wherever. And all of a sudden the heat on the bus like kicked back on, and it was full force. And within 5 minutes we had people like dripping sweat. And so it was just one of those times where everybody was just like laughing because we were like, what the heck is going on? Like, we were like, what is wrong with our bus? Why is it not working? And it's one of the memories that me and the other seniors, who are my roommates, we always talk about, because we're like, how did we make it back? How did the bus not like blow up? Like, it was making weird sounds, and it was a funny time.
Do you remember that, Abby?
Yeah, the bus. And then was that the trip? Or no, in Nationals a couple weeks later when Dan like backed into the
fence
at the restaurant for dinner.
Yeah, he was taking us out to dinner, and man, Dan
the man.
what a guy.
That happened at conference my freshman year too.
Maybe
He like backed in front of the bus.
So maybe
no, because it was at that like fish restaurant or whatever.
Yeah, maybe that was conference.
Okay.
Maybe I'm losing it.
Same trip?
No.
I don't even remember. They all run together for me.
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of
too
true.
long ago for me to remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kidding.
lot of funny bus
Scary.
stories for sure. But yeah, I think he like sideswiped a tree at one
Probably.
point too, and there's like scrapes on the bus, and he was great though. We love Dan.
Dan is he still driving you guys?
No.
No, he hasn't
Colin.
he hasn't driven us all year.
Okay,
Colin?
Colin. Shout out Colin.
Colin?
Colin?
Is that his name?
I don't know.
You know him, the bus driver.
Oh, no, you're talking about
Who's your
Ethan Runyon. That
He drove the softball
He's driven
team
us a
few
couple times. I've known him for a while because I went to high school with his sister, and we were good friends. But
Not Colin.
I don't know who Colin is.
We shouted out Colin. We didn't know.
Shout out Colin.
Well, that's all we have. Good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you.
yeah,
guys.
thank
Cheering
you guys.
on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, Wildcat Nation, for tuning into episode 1 with IWU Women's Swim, Sidney Campbell and Katie McKay. Join us next week as we will spotlight the men's swim team. I'm Abby Harvey with Isaac Wolf here on Wildcat Week, presented by Amplify Media.